not exceed 5% of the assessed value of taxable property located within the city as determined by the last tax assessment. Section 2, under the authority of the Constitution and the laws of the state of Arkansas, including particularly Amendment 78 and the Act, the lease agreement is hereby authorized and ordered issued in the principal amount not to exceed $129,070 for the purpose of financing the cost of acquiring the personal property and paying expenses of issuing the lease. The lease shall be issued to the lessor in consideration for the financing acquisition of the personal property. The lease shall be dated the date of its issuance. Amount shall be paid pursuant to the lease as needed to pay for the cost of acquiring the personal property as such costs become due. The lease shall be repaid in 60 equal monthly installments of $2,007.67 commencing on or after August 11, 2024, and on the specified day of each month thereafter, with an additional payment of $39,680 due before or contemporaneous with the 60th and final installment. The lease shall be issued in fully registered form. The lease shall be executed by the mayor and the city clerk, and the seal of the city shall be affixed to the lease. Section 3, as provided in Amendment 78, any annual debt service payments on the lease in each fiscal year shall be charged against and paid from the general revenues of the city for such fiscal year. For the purpose of making the annual debt service payment, there is hereby and shall be appropriated to pay the lease an amount of general revenues of the city sufficient for each purpose, such purpose. Section 4, the mayor, city clerk, and city attorney are hereby authorized and directed for and on behalf of the city to perform all acts of whatever nature and effect and to carry out the authority conferred by this ordinance and to execute all papers, documents, certificates, and other instruments that may be required for carrying out such authority or to evidence the exercise thereof. Section 5, the sections, paragraphs, sentences, clauses, and phrases of this ordinance are hereby declared severable, and if any section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance shall be declared invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not void or affect any of the remaining portions or provisions of this ordinance. Section 6, all ordinances and resolutions and parts of ordinances and resolutions in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of the conflict. Section 7, this ordinance not being of a general and permanent nature, it shall take effect immediately. The clerk will, however, cause it to be published consistent with Arkansas law.
Place it on the calendar. Agenda item number 2, an ordinance approving acquisition of a wheeled excavator for the street department, authorizing the issuance of a lease agreement to provide short-term financing under Amendment 78 to the Arkansas Constitution for the acquisition of a wheeled excavator and prescribing other matters related thereto, up for the first reading.
Whereas the street department is in great need of a wheeled excavator for street maintenance, and after competitive bidding, the firm of Riggs Caterpillar submitted the lowest, most responsible bid to provide the equipment for a price of $277,400. The acquisition to be financed via lease agreement as set forth herein. And whereas the city of Pine Bluff, Arkansas is authorized and empowered under the provisions of Amendment 78 to the Constitution of the state of Arkansas and Act 1808 of 2001 to issue notes and expend the proceeds thereof to finance all or portions of the cost of acquiring, constructing, equipping, and installing real property or tangible personal property having an expected useful life of more than 1 year. And whereas the city proposes to finance the acquisition of certain equipment to be utilized by the Pine Bluff Street Department, to wit, a 2024 M314-07 wheeled excavator for use by the department in street maintenance. And whereas it is proposed that the city execute a lease agreement and associated documents in the principal amount of $277,400 under Amendment 78 and the Act for the purpose of financing all or a portion of the cost of the personal property, and And whereas the city intends to execute the lease agreement with Caterpillar Financial Services and deliver the same to the lessor in consideration for financing the acquisition of personal property. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Section 1, acquisition of the 2024 M314-07 wheeled Caterpillar from Riggs Caterpillar is approved. The City Council hereby finds that the personal property is tangible personal property having a useful life of more than 1 year. The City Council further finds that the aggregate principal amount of the lease and the city's outstanding indebtedness issued or incurred under Amendment 78 does not exceed 5% of the assessed value of taxable property located within the city as determined by the last tax assessment. Section 2, under the authority of the Constitution and the laws of the state of Arkansas, including particularly Amendment 78 and the Act, the lease agreement is hereby authorized and ordered issued in the principal amount not to exceed $277,750 for the purpose of financing the cost of acquiring the personal property and paying expenses of issuing the lease. The lease shall be issued to the lessor in consideration for financing the acquisition of the personal property. Lease shall be dated the date of issuance. Amounts shall be paid pursuant to the lease as needed to pay for the cost of acquiring personal property as such costs become due. The lease shall be repaid in 60 equal monthly installments of $4,484.70, commencing on or after August 11th, 2024, and on the same specified day of each month thereafter, with an additional payment of $72,560 due before or contemporaneous with the 60th and final installment. The lease shall be issued in fully registered form. The lease shall be executed by the mayor and the city clerk, and the seal of the city shall be affixed to the lease. Section 3, as provided in Amendment 78, any annual debt service payments on the lease in each fiscal year shall be charged against and paid from the general revenues of the city for such fiscal year. For the purpose of making the annual debt service payments, there is hereby and shall be appropriated to pay the lease an amount of general revenues of the city sufficient for such purpose. Section 4, the mayor, city clerk, and city attorney are hereby authorized and directed for and on behalf of the city to perform all acts of whatever nature necessary to effect and carry out the authority conferred by this ordinance and to execute all papers, documents, certificates, and other instruments that may be required for the carrying out of such authority to evidence the exercise thereof. Section 5, the sections, paragraphs, sentences, clauses, and phrases of this ordinance are hereby declared severable, and if any section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance shall be declared invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not void or affect any of the remaining portions of the provisions of this ordinance. Section 6, all ordinances or resolutions and parts of ordinances and resolutions in conflict herewith are hereby repealed to the extent of such conflict. Section 7, this ordinance not being of a general or permanent nature, it shall take effect immediately. The clerk will, however, cause it to be published consistent with Arkansas law.
Place it on the calendar.
Question. What did we buy last one? I think we bought, a street sweeper. What else did we buy? Because all of a sudden we buying new equipment. I'm just getting confused on, what did we buy last month?
2 street sweepers.
2 sweep, and what, we bought something else?
Mr. Matthews, what was the other? These are the 2 items. These are only 2 items I remember.
That's how we bought 2 street, okay. I'm just trying to find out.
There were 3 items that we were looking at, and there was the backhoe.
The backhoe, we didn't buy the backhoe?
That was, it's in the
That's
packet.
today.
That was one she read, the first one she read.
Okay.
And this one is the wheel excavator. And at the last meeting, it was the 2 street sweepers.
Okay.
Have y'all checked on the ones we just bought? I mean, some of the people in the street department said the ones we just bought are not working properly.
Well,
That's the problem.
those are the wrong ones. Those are about our new street director, a previous street director.
Did we ever get
We're not buying
reimbursed?
you, we buying new?
We're buying new.
Did we ever get reimbursed for them? I mean, where are they just sitting out
They're
there?
still working. They're still working. They just don't work as efficiently or properly as they should because they're not the right ones for our streets.
Thank you for entertaining my questions. You know, sometimes people say that we gonna vote on it in next 2 meetings, but there is a rule that we can discuss it the first time it's read, so thank you.
Yes, and that's good. We appreciate that. Another thing that we need to note is on this item number 2 that was just read, there's a correction on that front page where you have the principal amount of $129.70. That will be corrected to $277,750 on item number 2, and that's at near the bottom, the third, where the whereas from the third paragraph up. Any other questions? Okay.
Agenda item number 3, an ordinance amending the policies, procedures, and guidelines of the Pine Bluff Fire and Emergency Services Department respecting mutual exchange of tours, declaring an emergency and for related purposes.
Whereas to address the staffing needs and promote readiness requirements, it is necessary to provide prescribed rules concerning the exchange of tours between firefighters. And whereas the administration of the Fire and Emergency Services Department has crafted rules which will promote fairness while meeting readiness and staffing concerns. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Section 1, that the policies, procedures, and guidelines of the Fire and Emergency Services Department are amended to revise the policy Mutual Exchange of Tours, PPG 200.03, as set forth in the 2 pages and 1 page approved form, all of which are attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference as if fully set forth. Section 2, all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance are repealed to the extent of the conflict. Section 3, the provisions of this ordinance and the incorporated policy are deemed severable, and if any part of either shall be declared unlawful by a court of competent jurisdiction, the remaining parts and provisions shall continue to be given full force and effect. Section 4, emergency declared. It is imperative to the public safety and welfare that the staff and readiness of the Fire and Emergency Services Department be maintained to the highest possible standard, and the purpose of this ordinance being necessary to that end, an emergency is declared to exist, and the ordinance shall take effect from and after its passage and approval. Section 5, this ordinance being of a general or permanent nature, the clerk will cause it to be published as provided by law.
Move we suspend the rules and place this ordinance on its second reading.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that we suspend the rules and place this ordinance on its second reading. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Mays.
Aye.
Councilmember Holcomb Jr.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown Jr.
Aye.
Councilmember Lockett.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown Sr.
Aye.
Councilmember Shaner.
Aye.
Councilmember Frazier.
Aye.
Councilmember Brunson.
Aye.
An ordinance amending the policies, procedures, and guidelines of the Pine Bluff Fire and Emergency Services Department respecting mutual exchange of tours, declaring an emergency and for related purposes.
Move for adoption.
Second.
No, we need third reading.
Oh, I'm sorry. I move to suspend the rules and place this ordinance on its third and final reading.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that we suspend the rules and place this ordinance on its third and final reading. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Mays.
Aye.
Councilmember Holcomb Jr.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown Jr.
Aye.
Councilmember Lockett.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown Sr.
Aye.
Councilmember Shaner.
Aye.
Councilmember Frazier.
Aye.
And Councilmember Brunson.
Aye.
An ordinance amending the policies, procedures, and guidelines of the Pine Bluff Fire and Emergency Services Department respecting mutual exchange of tours, declaring an emergency and for related purposes.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that an ordinance amending the policies, procedures, and guidelines of the Pine Bluff Fire and Emergency Services Department respecting mutual exchange of tours, declaring an emergency, and for related purposes be approved. The floor is open for discussion. Any
I would like
questions?
Chief Howe to, you explained it to me, what you're doing in the fire department.
Okay.
Can you explain it again to the citizens?
Good evening, Chief.
This is an existing policy that we have within the fire department. We made some minor changes to it, and they have to go before the council before we can make changes, and that's the reason it's before you. This allows our members to work off shift for each other for emergency situations, training opportunities, family emergencies. So when a person works for someone off shift, we have a guideline to give them some guidance as to how that would happen, and that it's a voluntary process, it's not mandatory, and they have a 90-day window to work back for that person. So that's the basic changes, which there's a voluntary process, and it established some guidelines for how long before you have to take care of that trade day. We call it a trade day, and that's the gist of the changes. So it's an existing policy just being modified.
And I think the policy states that it's 90 days.
Correct.
And Councilmember Mays thought it was, you told him 30, so which is?
No, it's 90, pretty much, basically.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
It's quite a bit of time.
It's designed to give each member some flexibility. That's the whole thing about giving some flexibility, yes.
Any other questions or concerns? Thank you, not Councilmember. We do that later when you retire, Councilmember. Thank you, Chief Howell. Okay. Hearing no other questions or concerns, let's vote. All in favor of this ordinance, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ordinance approved.
Move we accept the emergency clause.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded that we accept the emergency clause so this ordinance can go into effect immediately. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Emergency clause activated.
I just say on behalf of the fire department, thank you to all members and mayor, thank you for working with us.
You're welcome.
Agenda item number 4, a resolution waiving competitive selection and approving payment to Tandem Care Incorporated for consulting services and preparation of grant application.
Second.
Whereas the city has pursued grant funds from the U.S. Housing and Urban Development since 2021, and whereas as part of this effort, the city utilized the services of Tandem Care Incorporated to prepare a Choice Neighborhoods Planning Grant application, which was submitted to HUD. And whereas this vendor was working with the Pine Bluff Housing Authority and was familiar with the city's circumstances and possessed the needed expertise to prepare the grant application. And whereas engaging in competitive selection to select another firm to prepare the application would have been redundant and inefficient and unnecessarily delayed submitting the application. And whereas the firm has performed the work and submitted a final bill of $7,950, which should be paid. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Section 1, that competitive selection with respect to procuring services in the preparation of the grant application for submission to the U.S. Housing and Urban Development Department would be inefficient and impractical in light of the fact that Tandem Care Incorporated was already working with the Pine Bluff Housing Authority and intimately familiar with the city's circumstances and should be and is hereby waived. Section 2, that payment of Tandem's bill for its services in the amount of $7,950 is hereby approved for payment.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second that a resolution waiving competitive selection and approving payment to Tandem Care for consulting services and preparation of grant application be approved. The floor is open for discussion.
Yes.
Councilmember Mays?
Now, this is, St. John Apartments. Am I right?
It's the area that's going to be affected.
St. John Apartments.
Yes,
Okay, so they're planning on tearing it down and moving the residents out.
Yes, sir.
Have the residents been notified?
No, sir, we're not at that point, and we're not the ones, they're not our residents. They're living there under the current owners of that property.
But they're our friends and community people in the city.
Yes, so they will be properly notified when that time comes, and they'll be notified by the owners of that property.
So what's the total number of citizens in Pine Bluff that live there now? Does anybody know?
We're not sure of the number of citizens living in that property at this time. What we do know is that the property is in deplorable condition, that this grant will allow us the opportunity working with the Housing Authority, to demolish that building and not only build a new apartment complex in the St. John apartment area, but to also renovate within a 2-mile radius of that area where the apartment is.
I guess my point is, have the citizens of Pine Bluff that live there been notified?
No, because the grant has not been approved yet. This is all in motion. Nothing has been approved yet. Once we get to that stage, they will be properly notified, they will be properly placed.
So you saying it's already in motion then?
No, just the grant application has been submitted,
But that's in motion.
but it's not time to notify anyone because the grant has not been awarded. We don't know what's going to come of that, but when we are awarded and it's time to notify residents, they will be properly notified by the agency that's to notify them.
I personally feel like they should be notified beforehand about what we're talking about.
But, Councilmember, you're still talking about months, possibly years before that may happen. So even if the grant is approved, it's not gonna be an immediate thing where they'll be out in, 30 days or anything. It still will be a time frame there, because you still have to have
But
design
they
phases and things like that.
Still, our citizens, and they still should be notified. If you're gonna put me out somewhere, let me know.
And Councilmember Mays, when the time comes, they will be notified.
I mean,
In advance.
They'll be given ample time to move, and help will also, there will also probably be assistance, not probably, there will also be assistance to help them find locations to live.
all of them out there. City Clerk, what were you saying?
Ample amount of time will be given to them if we're awarded the grant.
You talking about handicapped people, senior citizens. Those are my friends,
Yes, sir.
and they should be notified. Just can't make a decision on those people like that.
And we guarantee you they will be notified.
You should have a meeting out there and let them know.
That will happen when the time comes.
So we're setting up a discussion there, they're handicapped, they're blind some, and some on crutches and wheelchairs, and we're talking about a decision for them?
Not just yet.
Okay, we're not making a decision for them at this time. We're applying for a grant to improve the living conditions of the people in that area and in that 2-mile radius. And the grant that we're applying for, so the audience will understand, is approximately $50 million. And so if we get that money, we can make a measurable difference in the vicinity of St. John Apartments in that 2-mile radius of that building. So we've only made application. So nobody is going to be moved out just yet. Can you lower that just a tad? Thank you. But we want Councilmember Mays to know, and we respect your compassion, but individuals will be properly notified when that time comes. If that time comes, we're not sure that we will even be awarded the grant yet.
Just the idea.
So
you
to
have-
award, to inform them now would be premature.
Well, they should know. You guys people out there in wheelchairs, I've been out there.
You
just
have to
recently.
also realize that the conditions of the apartments now are deplorable. They really need to be moved now, but they are there because that's their home, and we're trying to improve those living conditions, working with the Housing Authority if at all possible.
It's been worked on, I know, for the last couple of years, quite a bit development out there,
I don't know about that.
you know?
No, sir.
I mean,
Okay, Councilmember Mays, we promise you we will notify these individuals. Will you allow us to move forward? Thank you so much for your fine cooperation. And if you have further questions, we'll discuss them tomorrow morning. Okay? Okay? There are no more questions. All in favor of resolution number 4, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
no.
Roll call, please. You're voting against progress. We want you to
Well,
vote
I'm
for
voting against y'all
progress.
not telling the
And
people.
we're going to notify the
You're
people when
going
that
to
time comes.
notify them.
But it's immature to notify them now. We've only submitted an application. We don't even know that the application is going to be approved. We're hopeful. We pray that it will be approved.
For 50 million, you said?
That's what we hope to get. The grant award is 50, I believe it's 52
And then we
million.
gotta put them out.
Well, to improve their reading conditions. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes.
Councilmember Holcomb Jr.,
Aye.
Councilmember Brown Jr.,
Aye.
Councilmember Lockett,
Aye.
Councilmember Brown Senior,
Aye.
Councilmember Shaner,
Aye.
Councilmember Frazier. Aye. And Councilmember Brunson.
Aye.
Okay, 7-4,
7-1.
7-1.
Now,
Okay.
did I vote, or you just?
You did, you
You
voted
said no.
against.
Okay, no,
No, we didn't assume.
You said no?
no,
Councilmember Mays.
no.
Lord have mercy.
I mean,
Okay.
until we talk to the people, they're my friends, man, we ain't doing that to them.
Councilmember Holcomb.
Agenda
moving
item
on.
number 5, a resolution authorizing an agreement with J.R. Fox Company Incorporated to perform construction work for the University Drive Sewer Project.
Whereas the city solicited bids from interested vendors to perform specified construction work for the University Drive Sewer Project, and the firm of J.R. Fox Company Incorporated submitted the lowest, most responsible bid to perform the desired work. And whereas an agreement should be executed with this vendor to perform the work, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the mayor is authorized to execute an agreement with J.R. Fox Company Incorporated to perform the work specified in the city's bid solicitation and necessarily related thereto with regard to the University Drive Sewer Project for the consideration of $1,555,886.00, and for other terms and conditions set forth in the city solicitation and otherwise standard in the field for work of this nature.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution authorizing an agreement with J.R. Fox Company to perform construction work for the University Sewer Drive Project. The floor is open for discussion.
Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to have the attachment of the bids like we got for this other packet. I don't have any supporting documentation to show that they are the lowest bid.
Okay.
That's Mr. Matthews.
No, that would have come from, well, Mr. Matthews would work with that, but that would come from, I believe it was bidded out by wastewater. So let's yes. Okay. So do they have the bids from that last packet? Yes, ma'am. Okay, do you have that packet? If you need us to give it to you, we can.
No, I'll look at it when I go home.
Okay. But they were awarded the bid. They were the lowest bid. This is that University Sewer Project that we're moving forward with. Are there any other questions? Hearing none. All in favor of this resolution, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution approved.
Agenda item number 6, a resolution authorizing a contract with 1911 Construction for work building new football soccer field in the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park.
Whereas as part of the city's efforts to improve its parks and recreation facilities, it solicited bids from interested vendors to perform the work in construction of new Little League football/soccer fields in the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park. And whereas these fields will be the first of its kind in a city park, and whereas the solicitation resulting in 2 bids, of which the firm of 1911 Construction submitted the lowest, most responsible bid in the amount of $298,000 to do the work. And whereas a contract should be executed with the firm so work can commence as soon as possible. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the mayor is authorized to execute a contract with 1911 Construction to install Little League football or soccer fields in Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park for the price of $298,000 and consistent with the city's solicitation and vendor's bid and other terms and conditions standard in the field for this work, for work of this nature.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that a resolution authorizing a contract with 1911 Construction for work building a new football and soccer field in the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park be approved. The floor is open for discussion.
I just have a question. That's a big difference between the two. I mean, the 250,000, I mean, I'm glad that we got 298,000, but I'm trying to figure out how they came up with 548 and this one is 298. That's a big difference. That's $250,000, $200 difference.
Well, that was one of the things that the engineers were wondering, how they came up with that difference, but they do feel like the 298 is a reasonable price for the work that's going to be done. Mr. Matthews and I had a conversation about that, but we're happy that we did have that 298 bid. And we feel competent that 1911 will do the same work as described in the announcement. Yeah,
I'm gonna be watching it real close too, so thank you a lot.
we appreciate your assistance. That's needed. Thank you so much. And that is in Ward 4.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, if hearing none, all in favor of this resolution, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Resolution approved.
Mayor,
Yes,
I'd like to be a sponsor on this.
okay, thank you. Anybody else like to sign on as a sponsor?
Yes, I'd like to be a sponsor.
Okay,
Probably everybody. I think we all voted yes on this one. didn't we?
Yeah, you can add
everybody
me,
wants to sponsor?
add me on as well.
Okay. Attorney, you can say it, everyone. Okay, very good. Thank you all so much for your support.
Yes, ma'am.
Trying to improve our parks so we can enhance the quality of life offerings for our citizens. Thank you for your support.
Agenda,
Councilmember Holcomb.
agenda item number 7, and I hope I pronounced the name right. A resolution appointing Joy Geringer
Garinger.
to the Pine Bluff Jefferson County Port Authority.
As a member of the Pine Bluff Jefferson County Port Authority has expired, and whereas at the request of the board, the mayor has elected to appoint Mr. Geringer to another term on the board, subject to council approval. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the mayor's appointment of Joy Geringer as a member of the Pine Bluff Jefferson County Port Authority to serve a term ending May 31st, 2027 is hereby approved and confirmed.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second that a resolution appointing Joey Garinger to the Pine Bluff Jefferson County Port Authority be approved. The floor is open for a discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of this resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution approved.
Agenda item number 8, a resolution confirming the appointment of Renita M. Harper to the Advertising and Promotion Commission.
Whereas Stephen King has resigned as a member of the Pine Bluff Advertising and Promotion Commission, and whereas, as permitted by law, the commission has appointed Renita M. Harper to serve the remainder of Mr. King's term, subject to council approval. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, that the Advertising and Promotion Commission's appointment of Renita M. Harper to succeed Stephen King for a term ending April 30th, 2027 is hereby approved and confirmed.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second that a resolution confirming the appointment of Renita M. Harper to the Advertising and Promotion Commission be approved. The floor is open for discussion.
Mayor, I'd like to add this.
Okay. Councilmember Holcomb added as a sponsor. Okay. Hearing no other conversation, discussion, or questions, all in favor of this resolution, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution approved.
I move we be adjourned.
Second.
No, we pulled it.
Okay.
Yeah, item number 9 was pulled in committee. Okay, thank you so much. This evening, we do have 2 speakers speaking to non-agenda items. Our first speaker is Annette Goings. Annette Goings. Last call, Annette Goings. Okay, our second speaker is Mr. James Hill. Mr. James Hill. Okay, they're not here, so we thank you for coming to our first meeting of August. We'll see you on August 19th, our second meeting. Thank you so much, and be safe. Okay, 6:29, 6:39.